This is the Best Experience with your host, Nick Best and the Angry Dad. And before we get into today's episode, I'd like to thank our podcast sponsors, Barbell Apparel, a premium athletic wear engineered for performance with a tailored athletic fit. Evolution Athletics, a supportive gear company owned by Brian Shaw, four-time world's strongest man and strongest man on earth. We believe in all athletes and supporting their journey towards greatness. Iced Up Industries, some of the best price iced up cold plunges you can get with $50 off with code BEST at checkout. At Iced Up Industries, use code BEST at checkout. And today we have a guest. So we have a professional pro wrestler, pro strongman, IFBB pro bodybuilder. And let me tell you something right now. Because of him, I was able to meet Nick. I was able to join the crew. I was able to branch out into so many different things. But Jon Andersen is with us. Thank you so much for joining us on The Best Experience.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. The timing was perfect. I was available.
In all actuality, we were just doing another one. Actually, in all actuality, we'll talk about this now for something for you guys to look out for coming up pretty fast. Jon and I, and even Ben, are doing Elite Ageless Mindset. Now, Jon is one of the most driven people you will ever meet. Very well put together, knows what he's doing, very organized, and he's got ways of setting things up. And he's one of the most successful businessmen you will ever see. He's all self-made. So it's kind of interesting to pick his brain on my show this time. See how he's see what motivates you, what drives you. How did you come up with with your training business and everything all the way around? Because people don't really realize just how successful you are at this.
Well, it's kind of I think if you were to boil it down and look at the one thing that allowed all this to happen would be forward progression. Because I guess as you said, I'm driven, and I'm happier moving than sitting still. And sometimes when you're moving the wrong way, but you're still finding opportunities, or maybe you're moving the wrong way, but you get bounced back the right way. But if you're sitting still, nothing's going to happen. And so my goodness, I've had my first real win as an entrepreneur. I created a business and sold it for $500,000 in my mid-20s. So it came out of college. I mean, I went to college. Most people don't know, I have a major in theology and a minor in philosophy from the University of
Theology.
Wow. Major and a minor in philosophy. Not to be confused with Portland State. This was a small Catholic school up in Portland. And so I guess there's just people tend to look at us being big, strong dudes, but they don't understand that there's a lot more behind it. And I'm not damning anybody, because there are so many big, strong dudes who ended up trading their lives to be a big, strong guy because they didn't take that drive and put it into all areas of their lives. They just kept it in the gym. And that wasn't me. I took that, basically that drive that I had for the gym, and I turned it into everything. Now, what gave me that drive? I was basically a challenged little guy. Whopping learning disabilities. We always joke we got dyslexia, Nick. Yes. And there's probably more to it than that besides dyslexia. But in those days, they didn't have all these names and OCD and all this shit. They just said, he's slow, put him over there. And so I'm sure you dealt with the same thing, brother. So basically I had to learn. As a little guy, the last thing you want to do is be exiled. All you want to do is be like everyone else. And then you quickly learn, as you get older, you don't want to be like everyone else. But I'm trying to fit in. So I was busting my hump, just trying to get back in the normal classes. And so I had to learn to work. I say twice as hard. So I could probably even say 3 times as hard in different elements to get to where I could actually be with the rest of my classmates. And I mean, it was like I told my mom going to junior high, I said, listen, get me out of those classes. I said, I'll find a way. I don't want to go to junior high and put into that room again. And so she went and talked to them and basically forced them to put me into normal classes. And it was a hell of a shock, but I was able to use that work ethic to keep my head above water, just barely, but I did it. And that right there is my biggest blessing I ever had, other than my kids. But if I hadn't actually, I might even have my kids if I didn't have this early blessing. But that was it. It was like that. So for all of you guys that think, oh man, your story is, oh, I'm this way because of that. No, you got to flip that script.
Yep.
Because of that challenge, that should be a strength because you learned to overcome it, which makes you stronger, which makes you better at moving forward. So your story my story is, yes, I was a pathetic little son of a bitch. That's why I am who I am today in a good way. You don't let that story be, oh, I was a pathetic little son of a bitch. That's why I have this job I don't like and I'm not happy with my life, blah, blah, blah. No. Flip that shit around.
It's not a crutch you can lean on. It's something just to motivate yourself to do better
exactly.
long term.
Exactly. So basically from there, I discovered weightlifting and quickly realized I was better at weightlifting than I was in sports I was playing. But the main thing is I was finally good at something. And that just, for me, that was it. And it was like everything just started falling into place. I was taking that work ethic and I was applying it in the weight room and things started happening for me. And you could say I was happy because I was making progress. It was an actual tangible way for me to see I was making progress versus everywhere else in my life. I was busting my ass and it was harder to see the progress because I was busting my ass just to keep my head above water. Finally, I'm busting my ass and I'm actually like, I became the second junior in my high school squat 405. And
nice.
That was big. That completely changed my status walking down the hall overnight. It was like, oh, I was still I was just the same. It's just now everybody viewed me differently because all of what nobody could see what I was doing finally came to the forefront. And I was like, whoa, I can get used to this.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat when that change happens. That happened to me in high school too. It went from everybody picking on me to everybody be like, we're not doing that anymore.
And it was like, it was just like, for me, it was like I had this feeling I had never experienced before. And all I wanted was more of that. And it was, I'm not a drug user, but I can only imagine that there's nothing that feels as good as basically getting credit for something that you've worked so hard for. And the best part about it is the more that you want to call it high of your own feeling, the better your life gets. We all know drugs make your life worse. So for those of you that are in pursuit of a high, be in pursuit of a high that your brain will give you from busting your ass. Because the drugs that your brain gives you are far better than the ones you can buy on the street or get from the doctor.
I'll agree with that.
And so that basically, that's the drive. That's where the drive came from. And so I went to college with the idea that I knew that I wanted to be a big, strong dude and didn't have any clue what I wanted to do besides that. I just knew that was my calling. I was like, I really didn't care about anything else. I mean, I was still 18, 19. So the reality of having to make money really hadn't set in yet. Well, I check into college about 180. I come out about 260. It was 5 years. So, but I was relentless though. Keep in mind, my day was designed around my training. I didn't drink. I mean, most college kids spend most of their lives drunk. That was not me. I was focused from the jump. And so basically I graduated college. I have no intention of getting a job. I never did. I was like, it's not what I want. I don't want to get in a car and go sit in traffic and go to some job I don't want to do. I was living my passion. I didn't want to give that away. And so I graduated college and I thought, well, I guess I need to try to start a business because that'll give me the time I need to continue to do what I want to do and pursue my dreams. And I knew I thought I wanted to be a pro bodybuilder at that point because that was what was just the magazines. It was easiest to see what was going on. Strongman wasn't as visible. There was no magazine. You could catch it at weird times on PN. Plus, as a youngster, my mom, I didn't have TV because she knew it would make my problems worse. So I didn't really start watching TV until later in high school. And it was at a bedtime and World's Strongest Man was always on in these wee hours in the morning. So I never even saw the TV show till I was probably
1 o'clock 20. In the morning.
I never even saw the TV show till I was probably 22 years old.
Wow.
Anyway, so I started a few businesses and they failed. But keep in mind, failure was something I learned to pursue. I've been told I couldn't my whole life. So there's no difference when adults started telling me. My kids have been telling me that my whole life. And of course it was rough failing, but you just realize I got to get up and do it again. And so my first business, I go back to, funny enough, one of the first ones was actually a food prep business. Way ahead of its time. I was bundling up into little things, the whole deal. I was making them myself. I didn't care what I had to do. I just didn't want to go get a job. It was actually successful. It did really well, but the logistics killed me. Driving around, dropping these things off at gyms. I was selling to gyms, and the problem was they were spoiling too quick. So I was like, that's what killed me, is it was all fresh, real food. Anyway, so that failed, and I was like, well, I guess I better go. I'm at this point, I don't have any money. It just to demonstrate how much money I didn't have. I was living with friends, and I had no money to eat. So I would go into literally Safeway was the grocery store that was prevalent where I lived, and I would walk around and I would eat, and then I would leave the store. I didn't carry anything out of my pockets. I would just eat it. The only thing I was carrying out of there was in my stomach. And so I did that I'm trying not to do it I was always looking for ways to find food, but if I had 60 cents in my pocket, I was walking across the way to eat at Safeway because there was one right across from where I was staying. Anyway, So that kind of demonstrates where I was. And I was like, well, I guess I better start a business with something I have a little bit more experience with. So that was paintings. I had painted in college. And basically it was just me walking up to houses that need a paint job. Hey, door to door, I'll paint your house for $1,500. And you could do it in a week. So for a college kid, a couple $100 in paint, I make $1,200 in a week, get a buddy of mine to help me do it. I was like, that was great in college. Well, now let's turn this into a business. So I started knocking on even more doors as a business. First year, completely illegal. Insurance, no license. I had literally nothing. I borrowed some money from my mom, and I had this little beater truck, and that was the business right there. And anyway, so I knew what I could do. I knew that I could get a couple houses in my belt. Number one, I could start eating. Number two, I could get a place to live. And basically, to come that up 5 years later, year two, I was completely legit. And 5 year at the 5 year mark, end of 5 years, 20 employees, and I sold the son of a bitch for $500,000. And that was my first real win. And it was like the universe was lining up for me because my training was, I'm just a beast at this point. Don't have the confidence in my physical ability because I carried that forward. And one of my buddies said to me, it was one of my early training in the gym, and no one could touch you. He said, listen, I know you're afraid to go compete. Because I'm very honest with him. He's like, if you won't do it for you, do it for me. He goes, I'm not strong enough. And he worked hard. And we worked hard together. He's like, we worked hard together. And I was like, God damn it. Son of a bitch. He's right. So I signed up for my first strongman contest. And so I traveled to New Mexico, boom, won that contest. And then one in between and won my pro card, my third strongman contest, which was the Azalea Fest. Then that's where I came to Las Vegas, Nick, to do my fourth ever contest in Las Vegas, Mark Phillippi show.
Yeah, and I was there, and that was the contest that got me into strongman.
And I was scared to death, man, But thank God they started off the contest with one of my strengths. So it was a clean and press for reps overhead, and I won the event as a rookie and I was like, okay, that gave me the confidence I needed to boost off and placing well enough to qualify for nationals, and the rest is history. And so basically that work ethic, that drive you spoke about, just everything. And from there, went from strongman to wrestled Japan, Mexico too, a little bit in the US, but primarily Japan. Then, at 42, I was like, well, shit, what am I going to do now? I still got that thing in me though. So I came home. I was like, well, shit, man, I'm going to get somebody a bodybuilder to try. People are like, you're 42. What are you, out of your mind? I said, listen, I've been told that stuff my whole life. You're right, but I'm going to give it a crack. Well, when my first client, keep in mind that at that point, I'm showing up into bodybuilding. I'm a 300-pound dude, so like all the building is over. I just need to pick up some weak spots and learn the craft of getting really lean for the stage. And so win my first contest, qualify for nationals, go to the second one, win that one, boom. I'm pro in 2 contests, which put me in a really small school of people who had ever won their pro card in 2 contests. I believe I'm one of 5. And my third ever bodybuilding contest was my pro debut. And of course it was a little rattling, but, she'd been kind of doing this shit my whole life in terms of, gym. I mean, my fourth ever strongman contest was in Vegas, and I'm competing against guys that I've been watching on television, Yeah.
Carl
And,
Gillingham.
yeah. I mean, and then the same thing with wrestling. I didn't about wrestling. I just basically, I got my first contract in Japan, like my second match, and which was really because of the way I look, a little forthcoming with what I said my experience was. I got in there and I got butts out of the seats, I stood up when I did what I did. So I got, all that. So, it was saying when bodybuilding, it was a little daunting, but I've been, I was used to being the new guy with no experience. And so I just off I went. And then, so this whole story leads up to your question about my current coaching business, brother. So we're getting close, baby. We're getting close.
That's it.
So anyway, what are you, a pro bodybuilder? So what do? You open a gym. That's what pro bodybuilders do. And I was like, that was a dream. I always wanted to have a gym, from a little guy. So I opened my gym. It did really well. And it was so perfect. It was like 2 miles from my house. It was kind of for everything. That it was a gym, but we had, we power lifters. You came there, Nick. You saw.
Yeah, I remember the place. I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little place, but people came there, and the membership was spendy because they were coming to specialize, which was perfect because I had all this experience, and it was like, it was just kind of I had bodybuilders, I had strongmen and women, powerlifting people there. Even had an Olympic team. We had an Olympic coach. He was my Olympic coach because that's some really technical shit. But anyway, so it was going well. And next thing you know, people starting to call the gym saying, "Hey, can you coach me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, where do you live?" I'm thinking they live across the bay or something, because coming from the East Bay to my place. And they're like, Missouri, Arkansas, well, okay. I get doing this over the phone. They're like, yeah. I said, okay. Well, quickly I realized that coaching from a more grand scale gave me the ability to get the people I wanted to work with. Also, it didn't limit me to a geographic. As a gym, you're only going to get so far away. People aren't going to travel 3 hours to you. I mean, they do it for like attrition here and there, but with no regularity. And so I quickly realized, holy shit, I was like, there's something going on here, because I just ran it through my gym at first. I'm looking at the reports of the month going, God damn, this is all from people that aren't even here. There's no overhead. And so I told my wife, I said, look, you take the reins on the gym. I'm just going to tuck my ass in the office and see what I can do with this, business. And when I say I lean on it, when I lean on it, I attacked it, basically evolved into a 7-figure business really quickly. And I was like, whoa, and then keep in mind, you got to understand that a business like that does that, not because you just try to sell a bunch of shit. You do it because changing people's lives. And
correct.
I loved it because I was changing so many more people's lives. And, emails from wives of the people that came in the program. I thank you so much. He's got more energy. He does his honey-do list. We have a great sex life again. So we're like, I'm bringing back quality of life to people that, that they were over the hill. And it was like, holy smokes. That's why, when you people say the more value you bring to the world, the more money you're going to make. That statement is so true. You sell a turd and expect you're going to get rich. Well, you might fool people at first, but as soon as they figure out you sold them a turd, they're not coming back, So basically, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's just, and of course that's my coaching business. There's offsprings, and I've had plenty of other stuff that we're not talking about, but really when it comes down to it, on my creative side, it's that I love to create something. I love to, especially, and the theme is it's got to help people. Clothing line. My clothing line is about, basically saying no mental weakness. I'm not going to use the word because I'm not a cuss on your show, but it's like saying, F weakness, F excuses. And it's just like that, the little things that can play in your head to help you get out of your chair. My business, I've created an offspring of the coaching business, and it's all about basically, and everything that we're doing, which I'm really excited about, because if you strip all of it away, the thing that's, the first step in helping someone is all right here.
It's the mindset.
Yes.
That's it.
And so the fact that we're on our new venture together, brother, we're attacking this whole thing that really needs to be the first step. The hardest part is that most people don't realize that's got to be the first step.
Yep.
You know,
Correct.
and I mean, long-winded story would be a perfect example. I developed that first step out of necessity just to survive. And because that became who I am, it's just like, I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to put it over here. You know, and then you learn to take that same stuff, you put it in parenting, you put it into, you know, you're with friends and family and your wife, and it just becomes, you know, life is good. What else can I say?
Yeah.
And that's it.
So, long-winded answer to a short question, but there you go, baby.
Oh yeah, crazy because, like I said, the mindset and the example that you put off. Like I said, I've been working with Jon for it's got to be 3 years now, maybe a little longer. And just everything that I've learned from you, just from being in your presence of how we communicate, how we talk, how we plan things, or how things are set up. It's like, because like I said, it's like a lot of us don't know what to do or how to do it or how to speak, how to plan, or even how to project what you want. Like how you always talk about in the mindset, like I need to do this, I want to do this, but we always have that mental block. And a lot of those blocks have been smashed because just from the way we always handle things and the way things that are always taken care of. Like I said, it's, you know, you put me on a new mental level of how I look at my life and how I want to do things. Because I've always had that same thing where like I feel the world is against me. It's stopping me. It's not letting me do anything. And I stopped thinking like that. And I stopped trying to have that there. And it's like, no, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I do it. I get up every single day. I write my ideas. I write my plans. I write my feelings. And I write exactly what I want to do out every single day because that's the only way shit gets done.
Yeah. It's like program. Our minds are like computers. It's like pre-computer. I mean, that's really what I did with my own journey. And I just kind of distilled it down to the simple formula that translates really well. And then you got to make it where people can remember. So the formula, if you guys ever join us on Nick and my show, where we're talking about strategies for you know, 3,
which
2,
is
1.
elite ageless mindset.
Yes, elite ageless mindset. It's exactly, it's 3, 2, 1. I mean, it's 3 is 3 things you're going to be positive about for the day. The 2 things, the 2 P's is your purpose. How do you intend to behave to get closer to that goal? And the number 1 is my favorite. It's the purge. What are you going to remove? And so when you wake up every day and you do what Ben's talking about and you format it in a way, because we're not talking about a to-do list. A to-do list is great. This is how you actually are going to behave. This is how you're going to react to the world. This is like a dare of mindset. You know, you can start to crack through a to-do list, you know, every rest of your life and make the same dumb mistakes you make every day and you won't make any progress, you know? And Ben, I thank you for saying that, brother, because that's one thing, I mean, is huge. So to hear you say all that stuff makes me really happy because, you know, that's one thing that I'm really focused on now is I've been so focused on changing clients, which is great. And I'm not going to stop doing that, but I'm definitely realizing that the next layer of this for me is to change the lives of the people on my team. And obviously, Ben, you're a piece of my team. So Nick, we're partnered up in a business too, which is great. You know, so, and there's nothing better than changing
without you,
lives.
I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here. I don't go to World's Strongest Man ever. I don't go to IFSA Worlds ever. I don't go to nationals. I don't go to the contest to become a strongman. It was the contest that I saw you competing in that Philippi put on that I was just like, this is freaking cool. I'm watching you go. I know how strong you are because I think we did a powerlifting meet together. I want to say in Novato. Like
we remember we crossed paths very first in Fifth Street Fitness in Santa Rosa.
In Santa Rosa, yeah. That's going back a ways, folks.
Way back, you're talking
baby. Early 90s.
I would say 92, 93 at the latest. Yeah. You're the only dudes that had the ball because back in those days, you know, powerlifting was not on the forefront and you were wearing a suit in the gym and people had no idea what to think of that.
It's true. I did not care. I did not care.
Well, now that was exactly it. That's what made us is because we were focused. We knew what we're doing. We knew how we were going to behave, you know, and thank you guys for both sets. Really cool, man. Really, really cool. You know, in a joking I guess factual, joking, but kind of also heartbreaking at the same time. When you went to IFSA Worlds the first time, because I busted out my knee and Derek messed his back. So you came up 2 spots to go. But the beautiful part was I was like, he's got to go do well if he's, in it. And that was the coolest thing. I was like, Nick held together for us, baby.
Oh, thanks, man. You're going to make me cry now. I'm holding it together. No, the crazy thing is we get to IFSA Worlds and the first event's the Farmer's Walk.
Right up your alley, man. It's what you needed. So new to the sport. It was like, it was just like me having, for the overhead. It was like, okay, I've wings. I feel like I should be here, for us sometimes.
It does. And the first thing I do is break the world record.
Yeah. Who's guy, Oh, yeah. I remember you were coming in, man. You were a little undersized in the beginning, but you were so fast, When I say undersized, funny enough, it was still like 285. But, I'm 285. We all know that you got to get a little bigger than 285. So I'm talking strongman terms, undersized when I came in too. I came in about your same size and they're like, you need to put on about 15 pounds. I'm like, oh, Jesus, I've been trying to do this my whole life, No,
but it's awesome how all of our paths intertwine and we're in and out of each other's lives so much. And it's just amazing now at this stage of our lives that we get to do things together and we get to influence other people in a positive manner and make their lives better. And that's what makes things so fulfilling for me anyway. I like making people's lives better. I like giving them motivation. Is just a number. And so many people want to pack it in and it's like, no, why? You're 30. You're not done.
And part about that, brothers, we are having so much fun with our new project on Elite Ageless Mindset because we're basically showing that we're kind of like the curtain. Like, listen, you guys want to know what goes on to get there. This is the stuff that you can't see. This is behind the training. It's like, my favorite TV shows was Behind the Music, where they talked about the people, the musicians' lives and how they live day to day. This is like behind the strength, behind the training, behind the eating. It's all the little things that go into making all those things that most people want to do possible,
Right, exactly. And it's neat because it's extremely informative as well.
Yeah. And it's fun, man.
It's just people don't understand just how far the basic philosophies, if you follow them and you do them and you execute them and you stay on top of it and you honor commitments that you've made to yourself and you've honored and you take care of all these things, how it really just is. If you do these processes, it all falls into place.
Yes.
The 4th P is progress. And that if you get all 3 Ps, you're always going to have the 4th P. It's that simple. You are always going to have progress. And slow, methodical progress over years' time will put you so far ahead of anywhere you could have ever gone before. You just don't understand. And it's that type of mentality that got us here that we're trying to teach.
Yes. And what I try to make it really simple in terms of someone, because what you just said, it makes perfect sense, but let's put it in like a singular one task that most people do every day. They're going to brush their teeth. They don't have to think about it. They just do it. Well, that's one of a series of habits that you put into place that you just start to do. And what Nick just said comes true because you've created a series of behavior patterns in your life, your daily life, and you make progress every day. And like I said, our show and our 3 Ps is all about helping you program that mind and implement the things you need to do to get what you want. And some people might look at it going, hey, I want to get big and strong. Some people might look at it and go, I want to get big, strong, and do better with my relationships, my business. It applies to everywhere,
every bit of your life, which is so amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that it helps everyone that encounters it is just brilliant. And I love that. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, John, hey, we go on forever. Trust me, because we do it all the time. But we usually end the show. And Nick has a saying, and the saying is just one of those things that people should always hear. People should always know. You can find Elite Ageless Mindset on Patreon. The link will be in our show notes. So if you guys want to come in, check that out, see what it's about, learn what real mindset is and what it takes to possess it, you can easily do that at Patreon/M Link will be in the notes, so make sure you guys check it out, because you're going to be able to get a deep insight on some of the, just like you said, behind the scenes of what it takes to be an elite ageless mindset. But Nick, take us on out of here and let the people know what they need to hear.
Well, as always, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, train hard, train smart, and be the best you can be.
You're listening to The Best Experience with Nick Best.